I'm actually, this doesn't make me really dizzy now. What was the timer on that? 6.23. That was the same as last time.
That's a bit poor, isn't it?
That's very
poor.
It's very, very poor. Welcome to Green Sunrise Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Charlie Bhoy Quinn. We've got a few guests today. One is becoming our new co-host as well. But we're going to go to the guests that we've got in. And I'm going to say thank you for also. We've got a new production manager who's joined us as well. But we're going to start with Craig Campbell, CEO extraordinaire. Craig, how are you, mate?
I'm good.
Are you good?
I finally got here.
Finally got here. Aye, the old Las Vegas.
Aye, Las Vegas
hole
was good. Get trapped in fucking Amsterdam for a couple of days. So
wow.
With that air traffic control stuff. So
aye, that's just happened. Have they sorted that out, by the way? Have they all sorted? Are they still going on strike?
Trapped, aye. No, I think that it wasn't a strike. I don't know, some hacker or something.
Right, that's what it was.
So everything coming into the UK was shut.
Wow.
And I was stood in the same place for 2 days in Amsterdam.
Nice.
Honking.
I was just about to say somebody smells good, so it's obviously. But anyway, over to the guy that smells good, we've got another new co-host. We've got Adam Mitchell. He is one of the top boys from the Summer House Bhoys, and they were the guys that actually sponsored the last episode. Adam.
All right, mate.
Thanks for joining us, mate.
No,
how are you?
Man. Aye. I've got a lot of not so happy people with the Summer House Bhoys name. A lot of people don't really like it, but
they don't like the Summer House Boys?
I don't know.
Do you want to change the name of the outfit?
Aye, you could call us whatever you want. You could call us Desert Island Dicks or something. Call us whatever you want.
Desert, right, so we've changed the name from Summer House Boys to Desert Island
Dicks.
We'll not say the bits. But look, thank you so much for you joining us today. I can't wait for this interview. I've been trying to get a hold of Craig for a wee while now. I noticed him doing a live on, I think it was Instagram. I noticed you doing a live, and I made a comment, would you like to come on to a mental health podcast? And you said straight away, 100%. You were no doubts about it. You were like 100%. So I was like, right, let's get this done. And then obviously we've been kind of looking at stuff over the last few months, and now if I kiss a chance of, right, he's back on Scotland. He's back in Scotland. He's back in British soil. It's time. Can I get you in? And you said aye. So thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, it's a pleasure, mate.
Aye, good. We also have Aidan in the background. My son's in the background. He's going to keep the notes. He's going to keep the timing again, like he did last time. And it's going to be a good show. And again, another special thank you to our new producer, Suzy Maxwell. She was meant to be on the mic today, but she's no bothered. Thank you anyway. I know you're in the background. Hi. So thank you, Suzy, for this. Right, we're going to get to our first question. Right now, Adam will come in on certain points. But we're going to get to the first question, and it's going to be to you, obviously, Craig, right? Can you tell us about your path into the field of SEO, and how did you start working as an SEO, and was there any formal training after your time at Shawlands Academy? So that's like 3 questions now. I thought I'd keep you on your toes, didn't you?
Aye. One, there is no formal training to get into SEO. For anybody who doesn't know what it is, it's getting websites ranking in Google. But because Google update all the time, you can go to university, college or whatever and learn digital marketing, but you're getting taught by guys who maybe done it 10 years ago. And because it's changing, it's really difficult. So you need to kind of self-teach yourself. But I think for me, how I get into it, I left school with nothing, like probably most people in Glasgow, and dotted around a few jobs. Worked in Burger King, worked in call centres, done all sorts of shit. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but the internet had just come out. So I'm 43. The internet had just come out, dial-up connection. You could talk to people on MSN and all that. You're like, whoa, this is brilliant. Because when I was growing up, we never had mobile phones. It's different for you guys. We literally had to chap your mate's door and all that to see if he was coming to play. So the internet was quite a big thing. And I started messing around with websites. Just had a wee bit of an interest in the internet in general. So a matter of timing, and then I fell into it. I was pretty shite at web design. And moved along to SEO, which I found a wee bit easier. But all just blagged my way in. Just tell people I could do it.
So that was one of the things. Obviously, when I've asked you on, I'm talking to Suzy and like, right, okay, let's try and get a timeline of how the stuff and all that kind of works, and so you've kind of answered that about the kind of 5 year for when you left school to, and so you, if the way I picture it, you were in school 2 years after me. So I'm obviously 2 years older, and I'm like that, right? Okay, there. Where did they go? So that's what you were saying. You were doing kind of jobs and like Burger King stuff like that.
Aye.
It was just wasn't hitting you. Wasn't hitting
it's
the
also,
right notes.
You'll know this and all. Like when I was leaving school, they gave us that. There was a thing called skill seekers, and they stuck me. They said to me, some guidance teacher says, "What is it you want to be?" And I'm like, I don't know. I was 16 or whatever, and I wanted a motor. So I'm like, I like cars. Somehow they stuck me in a fucking apprentice mechanic thing for 40 quid a week. I hated that as well, so I just ditched that and.
So that kind of relates to the story, and I get that. That's good. Right, so if we can just to picture that for anybody that gets to two, so we're talking about 2003, right? And we saw the emergence of mass Wi-Fi connectivity. It was the time of Nokia phones where Snake replaced internet and camera phones of today. As these phones have the internet, didn't have internet access or cameras like the phone, the smart ass phones that we've got today, as I like to call them. Social media, as we know, it was practically non-existent. So that was what was the digital marketing world like in 2003?
So there was a lot of forums and stuff. So for me to learn, ask questions and all that kind of stuff was all done in forums, just asking other people how you do this and how you do that. And again, for a lot of people, it was all blagging as well. You were just trying stuff, blowing stuff up, talking to people in forums. You wouldn't get a reply for 3 or 4 days because there wasn't Facebook, YouTube or anything like that. So it was all forum-based. Websites were still terrible back in the day. Even the new, they're still terrible. Digital marketing's not that big. When you look at local businesses, you're like, Jesus, there's guys out there that have got businesses that are 20-year-old and they don't have social media. They don't utilise all these kind of platforms. So
there's so many ways for them to kind of make their business better, obviously. Right, so I was going to say, so that for me, that was, I'm trying to think of times when we just get Nokia and all that out, right? And it was like, my thought for the first phone was a StarTAC, Motorola StarTAC, right? So I thought I was a bee's knees at that point, but you still didn't have internet and all that. It wasn't really there at that point.
Nah.
So I think, that's one of the things. What I was going to say, so you've kind of talked, well, you've not touched on it yet, but how did you get in contact with clients in 2003?
So it was all kind of web design people. So I was messing around doing web design for a number of years. That was your route in. So you build a website for somebody. They then talk about how they generate leads and all that kind of stuff for it. And that's where the kind of online marketing side came in. So ranking in Google was a big thing back then. You Google stuff. You still had Yellow Pages. People still done all the old traditional marketing, which worked very, very well for them. But, the SEO side was obviously very slow at that point. But it was, the route in was just doing web design, and then you would get, how else can you help me?
So we're looking at I suppose the amount of substantial work for SEO in 2003. There wasn't many, there wasn't much. Was it just?
No. There wasn't a lot. It was enough to keep me going. It was enough for me to kind of find my feet and learn what I was doing. And then you get to 2004, 2005, it was getting bigger and bigger. And then I think it was about 2007 or 2008, Bebo and all that kind of stuff started coming out. And, but again, businesses had Bebo. You were just trying anything to try and generate traffic in the same way like you guys are now, doing podcasts. You're shoving it out in all these kind of places and seeing what works. Is it YouTube? Is it this? Is it that? So you're basically peeing in the wind, so to speak, with these businesses. But you had loads of kind of different forums, Craigslist. I know that's kind of seedy one now, but there was a lot of places where you could advertise people's businesses back in the day. Gumtree was free for a while as well. And there was lots of different things like that you could do to drive traffic to people's businesses and generate leads. So you were doing that as well as the kind of Google thing.
The Google stuff as well.
And then, as I say, as years progress, things, social media came into it, YouTube came into it, and it just blew up massively.
Blew up for there. Is there any businesses you can look at, like kind of maybe large businesses that you would be your kind of customer or your clients? Is there anything you could see at that time that you would relate to now, or was there anything like that?
No.
Businesses using it? Just like you're saying, there was nothing really there?
There was nothing really there in the early days. So you were doing it for wee plumbers, wee builders, wee roofers, a lot of small businesses. But as things progressed, big corporate companies would look at you and want to do a wee bit. So it was all kind of local stuff to start with, builders, plumbers, dentists, the whole shooting match, and it worked very, very well for me.
Good eye. So the digital landscape experienced a significant shift between 2003 and 2012, which is going to be obviously apparent. By 2012, social media had become a powerful force, demonstrated by Facebook's acquisition of Instagram, and for £1 billion, right? So back in 2012, $1 billion for that. People must have been like that. What was your thoughts at that time with that?
I mean, it's still there now. You know, if somebody was to buy something for $1 billion, it's mind blown. But the figures that are chucked around and these kind of things is just insane. But you know, the traffic and everything that these, you know, Instagram alone, people have got business. They don't do digital marketing; they only do Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Businesses are built on Instagram, like hairdressers. A lot more visual businesses work really, really well on certain platforms, same as Twitter. I know guys that just sell courses on Twitter, just constantly educate people, and that's all they do.
It's so like my mum's a florist, and she's had her shop for about 20 years, and really all she uses is Instagram and TikTok,
and that, just a visual,
you know, and that's really how she's gathered all her type of loyal customers and stuff, and she can advertise all new up and coming seasons like spring, autumn, all that type of jazz. It's been very impactful for her.
It would be. So in 2012 again, if we go back to that again, so we had the London Olympics that same year, right? And then obviously that obviously showcased that in the power of social media, or the real time coverage for the live event was good, but the streaming services like Netflix gained prominence, so they started the birth of Netflix originals. So can you tell us about CEO for business? CEO for business to CEO for online training courses in 2012. So was the concept of big data influential in this shift?
Still, I would argue it depends where you go. Locally, it was still a lot of local businesses were still struggling to get their head around. They have to pay a guy to market their business, and I think even to this day that's still a thing. So locally, it wasn't, you know, taken off as much as we would like. And you know, for me, I've always thought try and follow the money, because you're banging your head against a brick wall in Glasgow, trying to get money out of somebody, trying to get £200-300 a month out of a customer in Glasgow is like pulling teeth. Whereas people in America or down south, you know, the further down south you go towards London, there's more money. People give you appropriate budgets to spend on that stuff. So for me, 2012 with all that kind of stuff, it still wasn't going that well. You know, Google had introduced around about 2012 Google Maps, which if you Google something now, you'll see all the wee map listings. So before, you never had Google Maps. Google Maps came out, and that became a wee bit more prominent, because people are like, shit, I need to be in the map. So if you Google Plumbers Glasgow the now, what will happen is you're going to get 3 people at the very top on the map listings who are probably prominent to this area. You're not going to see somebody for Clydebank or something. It's based in prominence and all that. So that started in 2012. So there was a wee bit of a shift in people wanting those map positions. So still doing that kind of stuff. Social media for local businesses and everything else wasn't that big, to be honest with you.
It's just honestly, it's amazing how it works out.
It's mental. What I'm really interested in is, you know, what makes you stand out for what your type of I would imagine it's a very competitive market, especially, you know, as we grow further into a digital age, and it's just everything's just content. What would make you stick out? And if there was anyone that was, you know, wanting to come to you for you to provide their service, what, you know, how would you walk us through how you would take part in an audit?
So the first thing, standing out for the crowd, isn't really that difficult for being a Scottish guy with tattoos that wears shorts and t-shirt on YouTube and on stage and stuff. So I've always been a wee bit direct. So and that's always worked. And that's just a Glasgow thing, right? And people all over the world seem to like that. They don't like this kind of fluffy, corporate bullshitty, guy with a suit on, and I've never been that guy. And people have always responded very, very well to that. They just think he seems like a fairly honest guy, so let's give him a go, see what he's got to say. Auditing people's websites and stuff like that, that's the first thing you've got to, let's take your mother, for example. She comes to me with her website. The first thing I'm going to do is audit it, see if it works properly. Technically, if customers land on that website, is everything all working? Basic things like add to cart and all that kind of stuff have to be done. The basics have to be in place. What does it rank for? Who's the competition? How much traffic the competition getting? How much traffic does your mother get? And try and fill in the gaps and say, right, you don't rank for, I don't know, birthday flowers, sympathy flowers, whatever this guy does, and he's getting 1 million hits a month. So we need to kind of sort that out and add content. It's very simple. See if you don't have something like birthday flowers on your website, you can't rank for it. People go, well, why do I not rank for birthday flowers, or why do I not rank for plumber in Clydebank? You need to have a page in your website that says you're a fucking plumber in Clydebank. You can't expect
false advertising.
Google's got to be able to read that content.
So something you're like that, it's just common sense.
Common sense is all it is, and everything. It's a lot of people make it sound a lot more difficult than it is, and for me, I've always used common sense and just been straight to the point and tried different stuff. Some things work for you, some don't. But a lot of the online stuff is common sense, and a lot of people are lazy. So a lot of people can talk the talk, but they don't want to actually do any work. And I think that's also set me apart from a lot of other people, because I've been in the crappy job. I don't ever want to go to Burger King again. No offence to Burger King. Good laughs make great people and all that. But you don't want to go back to that, so you're always just got a wee bit inside you going, I'm no living like that again. So just doing a wee bit as well sets you apart from 95% of people out there, and also being direct and no scared to look somebody in the eye has always worked very, very well, and that sets me apart from a lot of other people in my industry, where some of them are introverts. People are all different kind of personalities and all that kind of stuff, and some people are they don't really want to talk to customers and stuff, so it's not that hard to set yourself apart, because you as a business owner just want to talk to somebody that can talk to you in layman's terms. You don't want all this kind of jargon and all that thrown at you.
Jargon free, and you're kind of but you can add a bit of fun as well, don't you?
Just talk to somebody like you were talking to them down the pub is the way I see it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's always worked well for me and set me apart.
Is there any in particular, tools that you would have your go-tos really that you would use to, structure for a new SEO audit for a new client, or even old ones? Or not to give away your secrets, by the way.
No, listen, there is no secrets. They're all on my YouTube channel anyway. So
I know, that's right.
So there's tons of tools. It depends what you want to do. There's tools like SEMrush, who is probably the place to go. See if you want to do keyword research, you can go and do keyword research on there. So you might do Podcast Glasgow, and you might see that 3,600 people look for podcasts in Glasgow. Then I'd be going, why are you not ranking for podcasts in Glasgow? Because people do search for podcasts in Glasgow, or they might go even more specific, mental health podcasts in Glasgow. How many people are searching for that? So it's important for you to do your keyword research, but that tool is get 50 plus tools within it, so you can audit your website, you can look at people do pay-per-click, you can see what ads they've got, you can really just look at somebody else's business and say, right, here's how they're making X amount of money. This is what we need to do. So SEMrush is the all-in-one tool. So whether that's auditing, keyword research, pay-per-click data, the data's there, it's laid in a plate for you. So it's really difficult not to assess somebody's website and compare it to the competition and say, right, you're crap, you've not got any pages for this and this, and you get it sorted. So relatively easy.
Good.
That's good, man. A very niche market, it
is. Well, do you know what? It is kind of niche, but it's not. So people say that to me, they're like, it's kind of niche market. Not a lot of people like generally know about it, unless you're operating in it. But it's actually a very, very big industry.
I would imagine it's ever grown.
So, like, I speak at events all over the world. In Dubai, 6,000 people there, sold out the event. So, you know, I was speaking in Malta last year. There was 25,000 people there. It was held in a football stadium. So, it's actually a lot bigger than you actually think. And I know, you know, you follow me on Instagram. Like, I was in Vegas there speaking at 2 events. The week before, I was in Estonia speaking at events. So, it's actually, you know, really quite a big industry, but it's no, because I talk to my pals and stuff and they're like, what is it you do again?
It's hard for them
I can't be bothered explaining. And it's, you know, even my old man, you know, thinks I fix computers. See, because I sit at a computer all day, he's like, can you fix this fucking laptop? And you're like, that's not what I do.
No,
but it's easier just to let him fucking believe that, because I've told him fucking a million times.
So it's probably just quite, I suppose it's like looking at you coming into this industry in 2003, right? You've probably seen something, right, that's just about to kick off.
Yeah.
And you've jumped on it, right? Because you can see it clearly.
Yeah.
Whereas others, well, quite clearly don't. And I suppose it's simple. That's simple why that would happen.
Aye, I mean, it's just, as I say, you get into it, you just do a wee bit and then you're like, fuck. It's like you know, you maybe doing your podcast and you're like, fuck, I'm you know, black my way into it, and I really enjoy it now, and you find out all these wee things and, you know, stuff about mics and production and all the other kind of stuff that you need to make it better.
Yep.
So it's like that for me. You scratch the surface, then you're like, what's underneath here?
So you're literally winging it, but at the same time you're growing confidence and you're gaining new knowledge, I suppose.
Exactly, that's what it is. And I'm one of those guys. If there's more knowledge to be had, I'm always interested in learning and bettering myself. So
seem very ambitious.
I
mean, it must be a very rewarding job if you're getting to go all across the world to speak to all these different people, see all these cultures. You know, it must be.
It's a good way to travel the world. I've been to India. I've been to, I don't even know, I've been to 65 different countries. I've done a wee thing on Facebook actually, that you can basically mark all the places you've been to. So I've been to 65 countries, which I would have never been to. I've been to some bizarre places as well that you would never. Estonia was one last week, the loveliest place in the world, but seeing your head, you're like, I don't know if I'd go there with the family, do you know what I mean? But stunning, great people, relaxed, nice weather, the whole works. And I would definitely go back there. So you get to see a lot of things that you maybe wouldn't see.
Does your family go with you to all your events, or just some of them? Or do you...
they used to. So I've got a wee guy who's 4 just now, and I used to take them all the time with me. When he was born, then COVID hit.
Right, of course.
And then he went into nursery and now he started school. So we can't keep pulling him in and out of school. It's no fair to do that. So,
no, I suppose that's the question enough. But no, definitely, you wouldn't really have the opportunity to do that, I suppose. So that kind of takes us to the next big thing was obviously the threatening situations, right? And legal action, right? So this was happening, and so let's discuss the events that happened that began in 2018, right? So without naming names, but a man booked for a one-to-one training session to help get help for building a business or building a website, should I say. He then attended one of your talks a few months later, and you started a casual friendship with him, right? So the first question I would ask is, what's your definition of a casual friendship? Is it just mates on social media, or is it like a pub and a pint?
No, pub and a pint and all that stuff. So that in that particular instance, the person worked for Yellow Pages selling websites to customers. He knew he wanted to do, like, you know, you know, there's more to this, you know, there's marketing. So he's like, I want to learn more about what you do. I'm off, I'm leaving Yellow Pages, want to start my own business. Came in for training, done the training, everything was fine. He was a good laugh. We spoke just like this. And you're like, he's actually a nice guy. So he came to one of my events. It was in Strathclyde Uni. And I was trying to get local people interested in it. So he came along, had a few beers, good laugh. You know, it was all good fun. And I would consider him a decent fella. And I mean, I could tell you a story. I'm not sure how crazy you're allowed to be in this podcast. So we went. So there was another time a few of my pals were up in the Citizen M hotel in Glasgow, and they were working in there because a lot of these guys work from home. So a couple of times they've been up to the Citizen M, having a coffee, doing a wee bit of work, talking a lot of shite to each other as you do. So this boy was there, and about 5 other people. And they messaged me and they're like, do you want to come along? I'm like, sure, I'll jump along at 12 o'clock. So I went into the hotel and he's like, where were you? Because they were there for 10. I went for a massage because because you're sitting at a laptop, your shoulders get knackered. So I go for a massage. So I said, I've been for a massage. Never thought anything else of it. So we were all talking, had a laugh, that was it. So this boy, a couple of weeks later, I met him again and he's like, you're a cunt. And I'm like, what? And he says, you put me in the mood for a fucking massage that day. And I'm like,
right.
All right.
So it's like banter, but at the same time,
it was odd. So wait to hear this. So he says, so after speaking to you that day, he says, you put me in the mood for a massage. I'm like, all right. He says, I went and I booked somebody for 50 quid. He says, I went down there. She put on rubber gloves, gave me a wee bit of a hand job, stuck and he says, I was finished in about a minute and a half. He went, so I went home and I sat like a worthless piece of crap in the bath and felt like a loser. And I'm like,
right, but that's
just to be clear, mate, like that isn't what I went for.
Aye.
And so at that point I was like, whoa, this guy's off his fucking rocker.
Aye, of course.
Right, dodgy.
You're just like, that was the start.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, where is this?
I've no idea.
It's no places that we can get on a podcast. I'm afraid that wouldn't be allowed.
Personally message me.
So did you have any? I was going to say, you kind of answered that as well. I was going to say, do you have any interactions kind of outside of a business environment with that? It was obviously that was it. It was kind of you think you're mates, but there was nothing like that.
No, there was nothing. There was nothing crazy. I mean, the one thing that did trigger it all is we had SMS or text message spoofing software. So just so that you understand how this works.
Aye.
See, if I've got your number and I've got your number, I can make it look like you've texted him.
Right.
So I've got a piece of software.
Right, okay,
so I can basically use your number and say you're an arsehole for his number. And you're going to be like, fucking hell, what's happening? So you can do that. Anyway, so I've sent him a message for Amazon saying your dildo's been delivered to your back door or whatever it was.
Right.
Which I thought was funny. And this guy's been spooked. Now, what I also did do is I made him and his pal have a conversation with each other. We were just noising him up. And at this point, he thought I'd hacked his phone.
Right.
So, and we're like, we told him, he started to get spooked. We're like, listen, it was just us fanning about with the software. It was just a laugh.
You're trying to calm it down.
And what we did notice is that he deleted me, few people from my office off of social media. He got proper spooked.
Right, okay.
With that, which is fair dues. And I hadn't heard from him for 2.5 years, something like that. So that brings us to November 2021. And I got an email from him, and he says, Craig, can I speak to you? He says, I just want to clear the air. Now, I had no beef with the guy, you know. It was all good, you know. Get spooked, big deal. And I said, sure, whatever. Went on. It was a Zoom call, and he says, listen, I want to apologise to you. He says, I got spooked by what you done. He says, I realised it was a joke. You know, I'm not like that. You know, I suffer a bit with mental health, and you know, I'm paranoid and whatever else. And I'm like, right, fair dues. And he's like, listen, I've been telling people that you're fucking some crackpot that you know, part of the Russian mafia and all this mad stuff. I'm like, what? And he says, I had it in my head that you were part of the Russian mafia and hacking into everything.
Right,
like, oh, whatever.
Causing psychosis and all that, and his mental health is...
So, because I was sending him customers, see any customers that came to me that I couldn't be bothered with, I would give them to him. But then he was telling them I was some arsehole and some, you know, whatever. So he's basically phoning to apologise for it, and that's fine. So I'm like, right, fair dues, mate. As long as you're, you know, good, and that's it. So I was just like, oof, guys, still an oddball. So just give him a bit of distance.
Keep your distance.
Never heard anything else until January this year, 2023. Got the phone call out the blue. Get in my car, and he phones me, and he says, I'll not say his name, I don't want to give him
No, that's fine.
And I don't want to get anybody into trouble.
No.
But he phones me and he says, it's me. I'm like, all right, how you doing?
Right.
And he says, listen, I don't want this to escalate any further. He says, but I'm going to cut your fucking throat. And I laughed. And he went, listen, I'm not joking. he says, you've put me in a real predicament here. He says, you're torturing my business, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're out to get me, you're spreading, you're creating a smear campaign telling people I'm a pedo and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, what?
So just to be clear, none of that was happening. But
none of that was happening.
No, just in case, because obviously you've used a kind of spoof, right? The spoof, and I think that's it's illegal now, isn't it? But back then, was it illegal?
No, it wasn't illegal.
It wasn't illegal then. All right.
So they've kind of
obviously
cut it out now to use those softwares. But no, none of this was happening. So I'll go back a wee bit actually. So I know a friend of this guy. This boy moved to Tenerife in 2021. And he moved in, he met a chick on Tinder, and he moved in with her over there, and he flung her out her house within 2 weeks and said that she was part of the Russian mafia and they were spying on him and all this kind of stuff. He's causing havoc over there.
Everybody's a part of Russian mafia at this rate.
So he flung her out and caused havoc over there. He also was doing a lot of lead generation for businesses.
Right.
Now, I know this through a friend. I don't know if this is 100% factual, but he'd fell out with somebody he was doing lead gen for, and somebody sent a couple of guys round to his house to sort him out or whatever. And they've leathered him there because he was messed about with someone else's business. Somehow, by the way, that was me that done that. I'm somehow part of this whole big Russian mafia thing that are out to get him.
So he's obviously just taking 2 and 2 and coming up with 5, can I?
Aye.
But you're the one that's getting it.
Aye. So I've known that he's fell out with other business associates and whatnot. So it comes to that call in 2023. I've known what he's been up to. He's getting himself into trouble. He's falling out with everybody. He's accusing everybody of everything. And somehow I'm the leader of the gang that's out there. So he's called a few other people out, said they're this or that, and threatened a few other people. And he's like, I'm cutting your throat, you're out to get my business, you're getting this, that and the next thing. I said, listen, I'll come down to your house now, you an arsehole. We'll just sort it out. I'm in Spain, I can't, this, that and the next thing. And he was going on, he kept repeating for 17 minutes, I'm going to effing cut your throat.
So that's what we're going to ask about this 17-minute call was.
So 17 minutes are just pure, you're getting it, your Wayne's getting it, everybody's getting it, I'm going to murder you. And I'm like, and I says, what is it I'm supposed to have done? He went, don't you fucking act a dummy. And I'm like, listen, I've no clue why I would be getting people to kick your head in or whatever. Like, he's never done anything to me before. So I'm like, I was kind of a bit confused. And I got off that phone call after 17 minutes and I phoned my wife. Now, my wife already knows he's a bit heard all the other stories. And she's like, just phone the police. But before I phoned the police, I phoned one other person who I knew was friends with him. Girl called, and she used to work with him. So and the first thing she says to me when I answered that phone, she went, Craig, why are you phoning me? I hadn't spoke to her for about 2 years. And she went, have you had a phone call? And I went, aye. And she went, I've had a phone call as well, saying that I'm out to get him and you've employed me to get this guy and all this kind of stuff. So he's shouting at her, calling her a weak woman and a bitch. And
is this this is your wife?
No, my wife. This is a friend, an old friend of his.
Oh right, an old friend of his. Right, okay, right.
So I phoned her and she's like, he's been on the phone calling me this, that and the next thing, saying that you employ me and I'm out to spy on him and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, we both went to I phoned the police, she phoned the police. The police came out. Now this is where it gets weird because it's quite an interesting story. So when I got that phone call, I was in Loch Lomond, and she was in the East End of Glasgow when she got her phone call. Right. So the way the police work is, see where that phone call was taken. It's the Loch Lomond or the Dumbarton police that deal with it.
So they've got to deal with it because it's in their area.
Aye,
obviously, right.
So it got left with there, and she was over in the East End anyway. So the two cops took statements and all that kind of stuff. Never heard anything for about 3 weeks. So I'm chasing them. I'm like, some arsehole's threatening to cut my throat. Like, what's happening here? And they're like, that guy's off this week. And I'm like, what?
So as if it's like it's dealing with somebody who's on the shift that night, and it's like, but he's not having holiday for 2 weeks.
So I was like, no, that's not happening. So 3 weeks went by, still fighting with the cops, trying to get somebody to take ownership of the whole fucking thing. Because there was another boy, no Joanne, there was another boy who also got a threatening phone call and told he was, you know, part of the mafia as well.
Right, okay.
And he was dealing with the Castlemilk police station or wherever he's faced. So there's 3 police stations all sitting with this guy, and nobody could put 2 and 2 together or whatever. So 2 weeks after that, I get a text message saying, it's me again. The next time you talk publicly or whatever, I'm coming to cut your throat in front of the audience and whatever. So I get a text message with that.
Real threat. No, they're no real threats, but just another real threat to add to the threats.
Aye, so he stupidly texted that for his own phone number.
Right.
So I phoned the police again. I'm like, listen, I've had another threat. They came out and they take the statement again. And I'm like, listen, what's happening here?
Aye.
Somebody will need to sort this out. And they're like, listen, it's just the way Police Scotland work. It's no great. We're sorry. We're trying our best. So anyway, I get in touch with the local MP. Somebody says to do that. Local MP got in touch with a superintendent person in Helen Street. And he said, listen, I'll fucking sort this out and I'll take ownership of this.
Is this the police?
Aye. So he's pulled the statements for all the different police stations and gave one of their officers, you're dealing with this whole fucking case.
Aye.
So that happens, and the police arrest this boy in March, and he stupidly admits to it all.
Well, I suppose stupidly, but at the same time, maybe he wanted to just to end, because obviously he's dealing with his own mental health, and I think
he was also threatening to commit suicide. By the way,
aye, that's another thing. So these are things that he's really struggling with, this boy, and I think one of the questions I was going to ask you was, obviously, what do you think the police's involvement was it enough? What could have been done different?
I think for me. So when I spoke to the police after I arrested him, I says, how was he? And they're like, he seemed normal to me. I went, did he seem off his head? They're like, no, seems like a normal guy. He admitted it. We've charged him. We've had enough to charge him. So the police done all they can to deal with him. However, for me, reading between the lines, the guy clearly suffers from mental health issues.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Even they knew. So as it goes, he got arrested. He gets let out in bail. The police fucking hand him my office and my house address, which he never had.
So he never actually had the name anyway?
No. He had my office, he didn't have my house address.
Aye. Well, the office one's quite easy because it's on your website.
Aye, and anybody can get that.
I know, get that.
So they gave him the house address, and I'm like, are you fucking having a laugh? Somebody's threatening to cut my throat and you fucking handed him my house address. How's that normal? And well, we need to tell him where he can't go. And I'm like, could you not told him the fucking area or something?
Well, that's when we were talking. I was talking to Suzy about this when we were coming up with the notes, right? And she said that surely that would be the case. She would just give a perimeter that you can't go in
3 miles of this area, but no, they gave him the fucking address. So I again go to the counsellor and I'm like, I'm not happy with this. And to be fair, the police had urgent response markers and still have them on my house and my office. So if I phone 999, they'll be there like that. So to be fair, the police were good, but they were bad. You know, there were certain things. It wasn't the police's fault. You know, even the officers were there like, we're just no resources. We've no get this, we've no get that. A lot of it gets swept under the carpet. They done everything they could, but I just feel that nobody ever looked at this guy's mental health. And what happens now is he was due to get sentenced, he was sentenced on the 8th of August or whatever it was. And the judge has clearly looked at this going, by the way, breached his bail conditions and all that as well. He's still done other threats. But anyway, breached his bail conditions, and the judges clearly went, I need to look at this. So he's got a suspended, so they basically suspended his sentence for 6 months while they now do the kind of mental health reports and all that kind of stuff, because the guy's not getting the help he needs. As far as I'm concerned, it's crazy that nobody's like
they've not
sent somebody
actually dealt with it and the way they should deal with it. So up until this point, you had never really had any situations like that before in your kind of relationships with other businesses or clients?
Never to the point where you're getting your throat cut. I mean, don't get me wrong, when you put your face out there speaking at events on social media or whatever, we've all had it. You know, you get somebody calling you an arsehole or you're full of shit or whatever, which is fair dues. You expect that to happen, but no, when they're repeatedly threatening to cut your throat.
Boundaries, right? So you kind of, that would have changed the way you look at how you kind of treat your clients in a sense, and the boundaries, for example. So we speak about the casual relationship we had. You're fine, you'll be a couple of beers with the guy, but does that now make you in the future kind of question that actually I need to be more wary on who it is? Because it's quite clear the guy was all right to begin with, and what's happened is you've spooked him by that spoof text. Do you feel bad about that sending that text now, or was it? Do you still feel like it was still a joke, or was there any way you could change that?
I mean, I would still. I'm a kind of jokery kind of guy, I would need. I mean, should you be sending spoof text messages? You know, you could argue that you should need. You know what I mean?
Definitely not.
But was it done with any kind of malice? No, it was just. I've sent that spoof message to so many other people at the time, and they never had a reaction like that.
They've been quick enough, and I suppose, but then again, you're never going to know about his mental health and the fact of where it is.
Clearly an underlying issue. Really.
Clearly an underlying, and so the guy needs help, right? So we know that he needs help, and so you've done your job as in reporting it to the police and going like, right, guys, you need to kind of get a hold of this. So not the fact that you want the guy getting jailed forever, you want this guy actually getting help.
Well, that's it. You know, the big thing for me is when he's threatening to commit suicide and cut my throat, I know I don't particularly want a guy to go to jail or anybody to get into any trouble, but obviously I've got to look after number one. I need to make sure that nobody's coming for me. But secondly, to get him on whatever medication or whatever, because I don't want somebody to turn around and tell me that guy's flung himself off a bridge and somehow he thinks it's me that's caused it. Do you know what I mean?
So how did you feel then? Because you got to remember, so this was at go on a timeline, right? This was happening 4 years ago, wasn't it? That's about for 4 years ago, right? So your boy's 4, right? So this is happened to baby. So when he threatened you and your baby, your newborn baby, right? How did that make you feel, man?
Oh, I was angry, very, very angry. At the time, I didn't know it was him when it happened. Just piecing everything together now, you're like, right, I know who it was now.
You know who it was,
But Andy's admitted to it. So, but at the time, I didn't know who it was. So I just went to the police station. I'm like, somebody's threatened to cut my throat. And I was speaking at Glasgow Uni. And they specifically said, when I'm going to cut my throat, if you step on that stage tonight, this is going to happen. And the police are like, don't.
Like the Russian mafia.
The police said, don't go on that stage, but I'm like, nah, fuck it, I'm doing it. I'm not letting some fucking idiot.
So they actually warned you against doing it? Wow.
They're just like, I wouldn't be doing it. But I done it. We'd arranged an event. There was 100 people or so there. Had organised a few of my SEO mates for down south to come up and speak at the event and all that stuff. So I wasn't going to stop it. You know what I mean?
You were going to do what you have to do, obviously, but at the same time, you're like that.
Obviously, your guard's up. You're like, fuck,
100%.
Watching who's coming through the door. And that plonker was actually there that night.
So see the initial reaction see the text when you sent that, was it straight away he was like gung-ho on you, or was it a slow build up of stuff for him to get to
the spoof message was 2018, right? I hadn't heard anything from the guy until November 2021.
So there's a big gap there, man.
And then after that, it was January 2023. So with no communication, nothing.
Nothing at all.
He's got me blocked in all social media.
Yep, of course.
And all that kind of stuff. So no conversation. So how, like, because that's the strange thing. Why there's such gaps in between stuff? Why would you be pissed off at something somebody done 4 years ago or whatever? So he's clearly twisted it on his own head, and you know, if he's off his medication or whatever the hell it is, he seems to kick off.
I was going to ask, did you, obviously you responded by going to the police, right? But did you ever try and de-escalate it in any other way because you've done that, right? Okay, I'll try and sort it in my way without going to the police. Was there any other ways did you try and de-escalate the situation?
No. So I mean, I've had people saying, let's just go around and kick his head in, which is not the right thing to be doing either. And you know, when you report it to the police and they don't really take it too seriously, because the initial thing is we can't really do much until he actually cuts your throat, and you're like, what? So you just go about threatening folk, and you know, until you actually do something.
Until you actually do something.
You know, they can't do anything about it. So I would have, I'd you know, because of the throat cutting thing, because he said to me, Craig, I want to meet you and I want to talk this through. But because of the throat cutting thing, and you know, if I seen him, I would just go for him. It's just one of those things. It just wasn't the right thing.
Because he's friends your family, and obviously you'd need to.
So no, I was too angry to try and do anything else. And I just followed what the police said. Just don't talk to him. Don't do anything.
Just what it is. Right. Any other questions you've any questions based on that? I mean, that could you imagine that happened to you?
No, really. No, it's a bit of a heavy situation, to be honest.
It's a messed up situation. My whole thing is, so obviously when I've been speaking to you about it, again we're doing the notes, and I'm like, right, what's happened? How could that be? Obviously the mental health stuff, right? Is inundated. So I take it the mental health aspect is there's no much help out there for somebody like that.
No.
Who can do anything, because that's what me and you talk about this, about actually the whole point of Green Sunrise was right, let's connect services, people up to services that they might not know of. But I wouldn't even know, because you've kind of said it, the police were there, they can't do it until he actually does something.
And they're not going to look for anything. If they think he's alright and responds well, that's the scary thing. Is when that guy's been interviewed by the police, he was just whatever. There was no sign of madness. So somebody that suffers for that, it's you know. And also, just to add to this guy's estranged from his family, so he's moved away through Edinburgh. His family clearly don't talk to him, and all this kind of stuff. So he's clearly had issues, and even his own family are probably not aware of the depth of what he's doing or whatever. He's just moved away to Edinburgh, and they're probably, he's you know, doing his thing or whatever. Because I seen him ranting about me on his social media, and because of that, I got my wife to look at it through her account, and he's had these wee aunties, is everything okay and all that stuff, and you know, he's got wee aunties and all that there that are looking at it, but they just really don't know what's going on underneath there, you know, with his threats and stuff. So it's very, very difficult, because that guy probably doesn't realise he's got a problem.
Aye. So when this was happening, right, you're building a massive business, right?
Yeah.
And you've got this onslaught of harassment that's kicking off, right? You're jet setting, right? You're out doing what you've got to do, but this is happening. How do you feel with your family being? Were they with you whilst this was kicking off?
No. So he deliberately, and I'm going to just put that out there, I know that this is a deliberate ploy. If you go on my website, it will tell you where I'm going to be. So I was in Cyprus end of June.
Jeez, man.
And he was trying to phone the office and all that. Now he's got bail conditions where you're just not allowed to contact me. Got a hold of the wife, and he was making me threats and saying to her, you know, do you want me? No, she said, do you want me to pass Craig a message? And he went, no. He says, I'll tell you what. He says, do you want me to pass him a message because I'm going to get him the night or whatever? Stuff like that. Now I'm in Cyprus, half drunk, I was enjoying myself, and I couldn't. I stopped drinking at that point, and I was fucking livid. On the phone to the police, on the phone to everybody, shouting and bawling, raging, ruined my night. So I found that difficult, because he was doing it when I'm away, and you obviously.
I was going to ask you, right, so what was your emotional state during this?
I'm just raging.
Were you just completely raging? But was there any fear in you as well? Was it pure? Or was it just your raging?
Your rage. Was it your rage? Because I've got my head around to thinking, see guys like that who make those kind of threats. 99% of the time, their bark's bigger than their bite.
Yeah,
and you know, if the guy was ever going to do anything, I'm sure he'd just come up and try and do it. You're not going to make all these threats. So it was probably just pure rage, because you're like, this wanker knows that I'm away and he's doing that, and the police had to come round and do a welfare check and all that on the family, the missus and that, and you know, for me, that's somebody.
So the impact on them's going. I was going to ask that. How was your missus? And
I mean, she's all right, actually. She kind of brushes it off, but you know, underneath, you're always going to be scared. You know, you walk out your door going, is there somebody going to be standing there?
Yeah.
So it does definitely have an impact. I think you'd be a liar to say you never. But again, you're used to it after a period of time. She's handled it relatively well.
She's doing well. So I suppose maybe she's a part of the reason why you've got a good coping mechanism. So I was going to ask, what's your coping mechanisms for that? But did you have any, or was it just a case of you were winging it?
You're just winging it again, like anything I've done in life. You've just got to go with it and deal with it, and there's no point in sitting there being raging for your whole life or whatever as well. You can get angry, you can get pissed off, and I was pissed off that night,
of course.
But again, the wife and that kind of calms you down. She's like, just forget about it, we'll be fine.
We'll be fine.
She's got 2 brothers that stay 5 doors away from me, so both 6'5".
Couple of bounces.
Very ideal.
So you kind of take a wee bit of comfort in that as well. But I don't think, to be fair, the guy, if the guy was going to get anybody, it would probably be me. I think he's looking for, no necessarily the wife.
We're hoping that obviously time has passed a wee bit, and maybe the police are maybe putting him into touch with somebody that's going to help him with his own stuff that's happening, his own bad mental health and things like that. But let's turn it round into the last. We've got another couple of minutes, 5 minutes to go, but let's turn it into the round where in 2020, so I want to ask you about this. So in 2020 you signed a 6-figure deal with Oddest Global.
Yeah.
This was a major milestone in your career and made you the highest paid Scottish business celebrity on YouTube at that time, right? Can you tell me how the sponsorship deal came about, the negotiation process for landing such a large sponsor?
So again, you'll be like, this guy fucking blags everything. So I've got a big YouTube following. I think I've got 125,000, which is big for my niche. It's no big the same as Mr. Beast or whatever, but so it's big in my niche, and they wanted exposure to my audience. Selling domain names is essentially what they do. So the guy says, how much for sponsoring your channel for a year? And I'm like, nobody's ever offered me to sponsor the channel for a year. I messaged a few of my mates and I'm like, which fucking figure should I say? And just plucked a figure out my arse, and this is where it gets really weird. So I plucked a figure out my arse, and the guy said, right, that's it in your bank account, like within about 7 minutes. Now, I never signed the contract. I never, it was all just done as a gentleman's agreement. So the money dropped my bank account, and I'm like, fuck, this doesn't seem right. And I never had a phone call with the guy, never had a Zoom call. See, for the first year, the guy sponsored me for 2 years, and he's renewing his sponsorship actually next month, starting September.
You can send him a link.
Send them details.
But somebody, so his name's Alex, and people are like, Craig, have you ever met Alex?
A big shout out to Alex.
And there was rumours going around that it was actually a woman, but it's no, I've actually met him since. I met him in Estonia last week, actually.
Right, okay.
He's an Estonian guy, but
did they turn up the address by anyway, just to confuse matters? Because that's allowed now these days,
But nah, it was a bizarre one, and they wanted, and it worked very, very well. So I got my money, and I also get 10% every sale I made. So it worked very, very well for them. They get great exposure. And a wee funny story, their company's called Oddys, ODYS.
ODYS
stands for Our Domains, Your Skills or Services, something like that. Now, I've always just called them ODYS.
Right.
So everybody in the world now calls this guy's brand ODYS, and it's Oddys. So I
think I was alright then. I kind of got at it. Oddys Global. That's it.
So I have went in with the ODYS, and everybody calls it that now, and he's like, wow, that bastard's fucking nailed my brand. Like, he got it all right and everything. And you know what? Not once did he ever message me saying, Craig, it's Oddys.
So you're just obviously.
I've just went to ODYS.
It's funny because when I read it, I was like that. Is it ODYS or is it Odyssey? So I kind of got that right. That was quite good. I'm quite happy with myself.
That's pretty good, man.
So if you're looking to sponsor a show, hiya. But definitely, you get the last. You want to take the last?
Aye, mate.
Well,
to be honest, I was a wee off the cuff question.
Aye.
I mean, through all your years of experience, that must have brought you some sense of accomplishment after, I would imagine, many sleepless nights and long hours. I think you would admit yourself, you would turn around and go, I've done pretty well here.
I've done well financially. Done, I've always wanted to be a speaker at conferences. So when I was running businesses, I'm like, I want to be the fucking guy there. So I built up a personal brand. I've been that guy on stage. So I've accomplished a lot of goals that I set out to do that I didn't necessarily think I could do. But again, just like, fuck it, I want a shot of speaking. And I've accomplished a lot, but there's still a lot more money on the table out there. And at 43, I always say people have probably got another 7 years worth of proper fight in me before I want to maybe take the foot off the gas or whatever. So
chill, Paul. Come in and help Green Sunrise podcast as much as you can. But listen,
for me, I do like to try and help other people, and that's why I done the whole YouTube stuff and stuff like that as well, because you don't get paid a lot for YouTube. The AdSense revenue on it's fucking garbage. You're paid pennies. So sponsorships and all that then come once you get a big following. But I like to give back and try and help others, and I like seeing I've helped a number of young locals grow their businesses as well. And that's just no for money, just to see other people grow. So I like to do that as well.
Well, thank you for coming in today, mate. Especially just coming off the flight for Las Vegas. But thank you so much for coming in and giving us wee bits. I was going to ask a question actually. One of the questions would be, what would be an easy tip for me or anybody doing this kind of podcast and stuff? Well, me in this, the people that come in, for me to grow this as a business and make it something worthwhile. Any easy tips you can throw out?
Easy tips
to kind of grow, just to kind of make it help us grow the business, or to grow the word. It's not a business, but the word of trying to help people with their mental health. And
I think the best thing you can do is, the guests and stuff you get on. You're probably not aware of, some of the names that you maybe get on here are relatively well followed people. I've seen various people for TikTok and all that kind of stuff. Leveraging that to get the word out there. Even when do you put this stuff out on YouTube?
This is YouTube. This is for kind of mostly YouTube. I know it's audio, but it's all kind of YouTube.
Get on YouTube. So for me, when I record a podcast, I also put it out on YouTube and I make it up into shorts. But see, on YouTube and stuff, you want to probably optimise for that person's name, the guest's name, to get your brand. You're building your brand. So you want to optimise for whoever the guest might be and leverage any kind of following they've got. So I'd be looking to tap into that. But you guys are doing a lot of good stuff with your shorts and everything else as well. Getting word out there is obviously difficult when you're building a kind of podcasty type thing or a YouTube channel. It's, I've had YouTube for 7 years and it only really blew up in the last 3. So I had 4 years of banging my head against the wall, just
try to work it out,
try to figure it out, but just getting the numbers up that you need to do. You just have to do video after video after video after video, and some will be shite, some will be good, some will be informative. But I think short, sharper videos, people don't have good attention spans, which is obviously, I know you said you've done 2 other things. People don't, I couldn't listen to a podcast.
No, I'm saying, that's why I'm saying we're going to try and shorten it down. But you're right, the shorts I've noticed I've started doing the shorts, and I'm just kind of cutting bits out and seeing how it goes. But you're right, it's probably doing that. And
there's a wee tool, opus.clip, who will create all your shots for you. So literally you just upload your podcast, and it will fucking automate the full thing.
You're on it, I wanna.
So see the graphics you get across it where it will say like you talking or whatever, and it's coming up with the words. Does all that automatically for you.
Because I've been noticing where to get that right. So thank you so much for that.
So that's a wee tip for that. It just saves a lot of some poor band editing for ages. So
thank you so much.
No worries, been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, mate, and hopefully again you'll come in the future and let us know how you're getting on. And obviously with regarding certain individuals we're talking about, we're hoping that they're getting help from the correct services, but at the same time, if there's anything we've covered today in today's podcast episode, please put it in the comments and we'll try and get back to you. In fact, no, we'll get back to you. And again, please look after your own mental health. Again, thank you, Adam.
No hassle, man. Anytime.
Is that what how did that feel? How do you feel with that? All right?
I feel good. Good. I feel pretty good.
And again, a big message to a big shout out to Suzy Maxwell for helping with the production of this. And again, hope you're having a really good day. And that's us out. #Slaters.